Greetings, everyone. Welcome. My name is Angelic Alchemy Meenakshi, and I am a certified hypnotherapist, a past life regressionist, and I practice angelic alchemy holistic healings, which is a range of healing sessions. And you can find them on my website, angelicalchemyholistichealing.com. I offer past life regressions, Akashic readings, angelic alchemy, Reiki, as well as spiritual mentoring. Thank you. Thank you for being here. As we are all aware, we are living in beautiful, monumental, pivotal times for our history here in Ascension. And I wanted to talk today about how to heart discern during these times, especially when you're faced with spiritual conflicts, when you're faced with choice points, and looking back also at all the lessons that we've learned in our life and how far we have come as far as those lessons go. One of the recurrent themes for me, as well as many others that I have met, has been working on lack of self-belief and lack of self-trust. And it is very common for people to go through this phase. And sometimes it's short-lived, sometimes it's long, sometimes you work through it and then it comes back again at various stages when you're dealing with challenges. So one of the things that most of us most commonly do is we look for help to find answers for ourselves. And we look for seniors who've been awake for longer than us. We look for teachers, we look for guides, we look for mentors, we look for channel information. And, there's so much information out there. And as we do that, we don't realize, but we go into this phase or this stage of giving away our power and investing our power away. And when I say power, it is the power of our free will. It is the power of our love. It is the power of our own heart discernment. We give it away to others that we feel are more adept at looking at situations from their experience. And as we do that, we start to follow more than leading within our lives. And that has been a recurrent theme in my life as well. So that's something that I do associate with. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because that is the most recent lesson that my soul has learned. And I've seen many others and also the collective evolving from that. Even if we choose to follow as against leading with our own hearts, we do many times come across conflicting situations where no matter what stage you're at and no matter what stage you're at, your heart is always giving you answers. Our soul always knows the right from wrong and what is going to serve the collective as against what is more about service to self. And we go through these conflicting situations because our heart is directing us to do something. We see someone else who we look up to. It could be a friend, a guide, a sister, a mentor, and we look at what they think of the situation and then we just follow. And we ignore what our heart was telling us. We ignore our own life lessons and we overlook them all just to follow. And we ignore our own life lessons. We ignore our own sense of belief of what our heart is telling us. One of the main reasons why we're looking for external help, external validations, is because we are faced with fear. It could be fear of going against what the majority are doing, fear of choosing a timeline that you might find yourself alone on because you can see, sense, feel, know something that others perhaps may not see it in that perspective, in that viewpoint. The fear of being abandoned, the fear of being alone on that path. And therefore, we start following and going with the majority rule. What is the majority doing? Let's just go with what we're being told. That's easier. You don't have to think for yourself. And you can just keep going. And perhaps that is the best way forward. And there's no judging in that as well, because these are all lessons. And I myself have been there. I've gone through this repeat cycle, this repeat pattern for myself, where I had to work through and do a lot of shadow work to bring myself out of it as well. And as we do that, I was remembering yesterday, as I was thinking about this, I was remembering something one of our school teachers used to tell us. She was a math teacher, and every time we went in for the exams, our tests, while rolling out the question papers, she would always say, Don't copy from your partners, because when you're copying from someone, you're not only getting the answers that are correct, but you're also copying their mistakes, and you are repeating the mistakes that they are making. And she would always say, if you don't know an answer, you just skip forward, move ahead, finish what you know. And then once you're done with the majority of it, you'll have enough time to come back to this answer. Think about it with a cool mind, and you will find the solution. And that is a better thing to do than to copy from someone. And that's a beautiful example of what is happening in the collective today, as well as it's a repeat cycle for the spiritual world as well. And our collective itself went through this cycle of the checkpoints of fear, of overcoming this pattern, starting in 2019, as we know, when the big inverted virus hit the collective, the C virus. And most of the collective, as we know it, has been attuned to, programmed to believe in the V's for various diseases, disorders. And, there's been a lot of talk about whether to take them and not take them. However, in 2019, our collective was faced with a call that everyone had to take individually, but it was going to affect the collective timelines on a very, very big, large scale. Again, a monumental time for our collective. And what happened then? In 2019, as this set in, and we saw that the people in power used the virus that came in to lead with fear, to tell people what it could do to them, showing videos, news, and everything else that went out to put people in fear. And yes, a majority of the collective went for it and made the choice that they thought worked for them. A lot of it did come from fear, past fears, as well as triggered fears by what was being shown by the media. And as we did that, there were still some people who saw through the fear, who saw through the gimmicks and the illusions that were being created by the dark beings, the ones in the power who were benefiting from all this fear of leading the collective. As they say, put them in fear, and then you can easily lead them because you can give them solutions to their fear. And that there were still some people who saw through it. And most of the time, most of the people that I've met, it was only one person or one small family unit within a larger family unit that saw through the fear and didn't go for it. Similarly, when we come to the choice points, the same thing happens. People who have learned the lessons and who've mastered the lessons and have realized what fear is all about are able to then go within their hearts and heart discern and choose with love, choose with trust and faith in the universe, trust and faith in source, and trust and faith in their own hearts for what is the best timeline for themselves and their immediate family that is dependent on them. And I also wanted to talk about shadow work, which is an important integral part of our decision making. As we go into the reasons for anything that's holding us back, for example, here, if you're talking about lack of self-worth, lack of self-value, lack of self-trust, what is the reason that we're going through that? So each one of us would have to do our own individual shadow work to figure out what the root cause of it is. When was the seed point of this fear that set in, of this lack that we are sensing and feeling right now, going right back to it? And sometimes it's not even based in this lifetime, it is based in past lives. So you can always do that. You can go through meditations, you can get a sessions, or you can just simply, the easiest way to do that is you go into meditation and you connect with the frequency of your heart, and you speak with source, you speak with your higher selves, and they will talk to you and they will help you see and sense it for yourself, remembering always to self-empower yourself. And as we work through that shadow work, we find that seed point of this lack that we are facing right now, or this area of improvement, or this challenge that we're trying to overcome. It leads us into a heart for healing. It's the heart that knows. It is the seat of the soul, and that is where you will find the answers to your challenges. And when you reach this center point, and you start healing it, giving yourself love, and reminding yourself that everything that you've been through so far has led you to be where you are at this point. All the choices that you made, all the decisions you made, whether they turned out well for you or they turned into horrible challenges, that challenged your life, or turned your life upside down, whatever happened, they all led you to this point where we are again being faced by that opportunity, by that choice point. And as you go into that place of peace, you go into that center point of your heart. Once you've done your healing, once you've done your shadow point, once you've done your shadow work, you reach this peace point. You are at peace within your heart. And when you reach that point, you will realize that no matter what happens, you go in and you make that decision based on what you feel, what your heart is telling you. And at that point, when you are at that peace, because remembering that the peace that we're finding or we're trying to be at, attain, is not outside of us, it's inside of us. So, as against blaming others outside of us for our challenges and what we're going through, looking within and doing that shadow work, because more often than not, the shadow work is us. It is us. It is our shadow work. It needs to be done internally for ourselves. And as we do that, we reach that point of peace. And when you're at that point, it doesn't matter anymore what someone else thinks of your decision. You stop looking for validation outside of you. You stop looking at others for help because your heart becomes your compass and guides you. It does not matter anymore whether you are alone in that decision. And let's talk about heart discernment. What is heart discernment? Heart discernment is the tapping into the frequency of our heart, just going within, taking deep breaths in, and connecting with our heart, with our soul. As simple as that. What does the frequency of our heart say? What does the compass of our heart guide us to do? And as you go within, through the frequency of your own heart, feeling out situations, people, energy, decision points, timelines, anything that needs to be done with your own heart, and understanding very clearly that if we chose to give away our power, chose to heart discern through someone else's heart, that is our responsibility. We've not been victims to it. It is a choice that we made, and therefore we need to, within the lessons that we learned, we need to take responsibility for that choice. And they're beautiful lessons, and let's just respect them as lessons and then dip back again into the heart, because while following someone else's heart, did we neglect by any chance to see and observe if they are coming from a place of love and not fear, of love and not ego? Are they fully healed? Have they healed? Have they done their shadow work? Are they fully healed? What are their ethics, their values? Do they really love creation infinitely and unconditionally? In the real sense, genuinely, where they are walking the talk, not just talking the talk? Have they healed all of their fears? Because as we remember Atlantis was all about fear. The fall of Atlantis was about fear. The virus came in and it spread fear, or the fear helped the virus to spread. Either ways, it's like the story of the chicken and the egg, what came first. But at the crux of it, there was fear. The government used fear to scare people and therefore give them ways in which they could help them and make the people dependent on them. It was a very easy way for them to rule people. And it is used by people in power time and again to spread fear, give solutions to the fear, and have people follow them into their beliefs, into their way of handling situations and things, and therefore disempowering them and also judging them for their choices if they're not in agreement. So we are not these governments or religious leaders or cult leaders that need to disempower people with fear and have them be subservient to us and believe in everything we say, follow us, or be out. We are all here to empower each other, to love and honor each other. And that is what the frequency of the 4D and the 5D Earth is. And of course, we are all aware of it and we all talk about it. It is all about love, empowerment, trust, faith, unity consciousness. And talking about unity consciousness, where we say we are all one, it is taken for granted since we are children of source, of organic source. We are all a part of this beautiful creation, which is organic. We come from source. Therefore, when we say we are one, it is taken for granted that we are one with the organic of our creation. It does not include the artificial. Let's just clarify that it does not include the artificial. We are one in the unity consciousness of being children of source, of the same source that birthed this entire creation, our universe. And in doing that, remembering that our brethren here who are working, the various light workers, grid workers, healers, there are naturopaths here. There are people who don't even know that they're doing anything, but they're doing massive work for, for the collective, for ascension. There are people here who are artists. They make paintings, they make drawings. There are people here who are activating people through the art of acting. They are on stage, they're in movies. So everyone's playing their role. They've all come from higher dimensions. They're all star seeds and light workers. They're all trying to do their work in the best knowledge and wisdom and heart frequency that they know of, that they're standing here for. So let's all come together and respect each other, honor each other, irrespective of what mode or spiritual archetype that we are honoring, that everybody is working towards ascension, and that no particular way of reaching ascension in terms of whether you are a grid worker or a light worker, or you're a teacher, or you're a mentor, or you're someone who's learning to be a healer, that all parts are honored organically, and there's no one path which is elite and over another, such that if you're not a part of that path, of that modality, of that way of working, that you are corrupted or inverted. Everyone is being shown their path. We all need to trust it. We all need to trust source. And at the same time, as I'm saying this does not come from a place of being careless with your safety and protection. No, it does not. That is of prime importance, as we all know the situations that we are in daily with the galactic wars going on. There's so much going on out there. We have to have our shields up. We have to have our protections up. Our intentions need to be beautifully set in place, again, coming from a place of love and empowerment and free will, and not ego or fear or disempowerment. And then when we say that, then trusting it. Once you've laid out your intention and your free will to be safe, to be protected and shielded with source, by source, of source, then consider it done. It is as beautiful as that. There is so much beauty in free will and in our expressing of it. We are safe and protected. Once you ask for it, it shall be so. So trust. And moving away, steering clear of fear and toxicity and division. Loving and honoring each other and each other's paths. And with infinite love, I would like to share a message that my higher self shared with me as I was thinking about all of what we just spoke about right now. And here's the message from my higher self. As healers, teachers, light workers, truth speakers, grid workers, whatever beauty our archetype role entails, our responsibility is to believe in the inner knowing, our heart's desire and compass leading the way. Let's sharpen that gift and allow for source love to shine through. It'll help also in steering away from hate and divide into seeing the love and divinity in others, as that's what our universe is about. Let's not forget, we are all love. We are all love. We are all love. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. I love you infinitely. If you have anything to share about this, your perspective, feel free to email me at angelicalchemy1111@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment here, and I'd love to connect. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything, and thank you for the role that you're playing, each and every one of you. I honor you all. Thank you. Love you all.